What is going on, everybody? Tyler Brandt back here with another video, and in today's video it is part 2 of talking about the depth chart, the final 53 for the New England Patriots. Who will they take into the regular season in 2020? Now, on the last video you saw we did the offense. We talked about which guys would make it in on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, this video is about the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to talk defense and special teams today. Now at this point, 27 guys, I believe, on the defensive side and the special team side that will make it into the regular season for the Patriots. Now, not only do we have the kicker and the punter for the special teams, but we also have a couple of specialists. For example, that would be like wide receiver Matthew Slater, but realistically, he's just a special teamer. One of the best in the league, but he is just a special teamer. So, without any further ado, let's just get right into this video. We're talking about the Patriots defense and the guys that they're going to take into the regular season on the 53-man roster. We will start closest to the line of scrimmage like we do when we talk about the defense here on the channel. And of course, we're going to start with the defensive line. Now, I could have split this up into defensive tackle and defensive end, but I just grouped them all together. The first group of guys, they're more of the interior guys as opposed to the last group of guys, which will be more of the outside linebacker, defensive end, kind of a rotation for them. So, without further ado, let's break it down. The defensive line, I think the guys that are going to make this group, Lawrence Guy, first and foremost. We know he's about a lock, pretty much of a lock as you can be at this point. He's been great for New England in the past. He'll continue to, do very good for New England. Adam Butler right behind him. Byron Cowart behind him. And Bo Allen. I think those will be your rotation of interior defensive guys. Dietrich Wise may jump inside too. I think he's going to make the team. He'll be one of those back end of the rotation, 50-plus men on the team. So he's also included in that, Dietrich Wise. Next up, on the defensive line, I have them as ends, although they can flip-flop as linebackers, outside linebackers. And that, of course, is Chase Winovich and John Simon. Now, I said them late in this list, but they are guys that should not be overlooked and looked at very late into this defense because, quite frankly, they're two guys that are going to be very, very important to this 2020 New England Patriot defense. So Chase Winovich, John Simon joins that defensive line, and hopefully those are going to be the guys that get most of the pass rush and a consistent pass rush on the quarterback in 2020. Moving back now on the defense, let's look at the linebackers. Now, in the last video, I said that the wide receivers would probably be the biggest question mark on this entire roster into 2020. A group that's not too far behind them, at least to me, and that is the linebacking group, quite frankly. They are a group that, with Dante Hightower, maybe was competitive, but he opts out, and now Juwan Bentley is the new head man, really. I mean, he's the guy with the most experience in the system, and now for year 3, after a promising rookie year and, year stepping back, he's going to have to be asked to take another step forward in his early career here in New England. So Juwan Bentley, we know he's a lock to make the team. The next guy is someone that when he first signed to New England, I didn't really think that it would be worth much. I kind of just blinked at it and didn't think of it. But seeing how this offseason has progressed, Brandon Copeland is somebody that I think is going to be a bigger deal in New England than we thought. Schematically, I think he's going to be the guy making sure that everybody's where they need to be to, make the biggest impact on that defense. So Copeland, I think, is pretty much a lock, and he'll have a big role. Next up is the 3 young guys, and that's Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, and Cash Malua. They're all going to be part of this team in some way, shape, or form. Specifically, Josh Uche and Anthony Jennings, they may line up as a defensive end in some schemes. They have a little bit of versatility, but they all looked very good for rookies in training camp. Still mentally have to take the next couple steps, and I think they could be a liability at least in 2020. But I'm excited to see the 3 of them go to work. And finally, Shalik Calhoun, again, a versatile 3-4 defender. He, can play linebacker. He can play D-end. He's a good edge setter when he's asked to be, used and utilized in the system. And, of course, he's a good special teamer. So I expect that Shalik Calhoun will also join this group of linebackers in 2020. Defensive backfield time, and let's talk about probably the best group or the best position in this whole New England roster, and in my opinion, the NFL, and that, of course, is the cornerbacks for New England. Now, we know that Stephen Gilmore is going to be a very, very big part of this team. If there was a safest category, he'd probably be the safest guy on the team in terms of making it into the final 53. Right behind him, J.C. Jackson, who's had a fantastic camp. He sounds very confident headed into 2020, and he's got every reason to be because he's been very, very good in small sample sizes. Jonathan Jones, again, another good defensive back, expected to have an expanded role in this system and play at a very high level, which he has done. After him, we have Jason McCourty, another one. All four of these guys locks to make the team. Jason McCourty, again, when asked to be a part of this defense and really perform, he's been very, very good. And finally, a guy that is starting to maybe expand his role in this defense, and that is Joejuan Williams. I think he's going to be the last cornerback to make it that's really a full-time cornerback, not counting Justin Bethel. But he also, in the last few days, worked out with the safeties. So I think it's a guy, or I think Joejuan Williams is going to be a guy that works with both sides. Maybe he's a future safety in New England, but he's got some time to expand, to learn, and to get a little better before his job is really in jeopardy. He's still a very young player trying to figure his way in this Belichick defense. The last spot on the defense we'll go to, of course, is the safety position. Now, we know that Devin McCourty, if there's a second place for safest on the 53-man roster, it's probably Devin McCourty. He's actually probably first because he's just been a consummate professional and an excellent, excellent player on and off the field. So Devin McCourty will make it. Terrence Brooks will probably make it, and Kyle Duggar. Those really are the three locks at the safety position. The next guy on the list that I've gone back and forth on is Adrian Phillips. I think, looking at how this roster is constructed, he may squeak on. But if Joejuan Williams really impresses at safety, then maybe they can afford to let Phillips go, who didn't have a great camp, was injured for part of camp. So if Joejuan Williams is good, I think they can keep him on and kind of flip him back and forth between a cornerback and a safety. But I think as of right now, with the way this roster is constituted, I think Phillips can squeeze into a final spot for now. I think he could be useful, although I think Terrence Brooks and Kyle Duggar will be the two guys that replace the role that Patrick Chung had for New England, and they'll be playing mostly alongside Devin McCourty, of course. And finally, to wrap up the 53-man roster, we have the specialists. Now, of course, we know the special teamers that aren't a punter or a kicker. Matthew Slater, a captain on this team. If there's a Hall of Fame special teamer, it'll be him. He's excellent. Joe Cordona, long snapper, long-time New England Patriot, and Justin Bethel came over from Baltimore last season. Another excellent, excellent special teamer. Part of what makes that group very, very elite. And, of course, Jake Bailey, year 2 with New England now, expected to really consistently be the very good punter he was last season. And finally, the kicker spot, the guy that's responsible for kicking field goals. If you're asking me today, I think it's Nick Folk. I think maybe marginally he's better than Justin Rohrwasser. I don't think they're going to hold 2 kickers. I pray they don't take 2 kickers into the regular season because I just think that's a mess. They might take, because of Rohrwasser being a 5th-round pick, they might actually take 2 kickers into the season, which makes me nauseous, just honestly. But I think they hopefully take one, and it's Folk. It's Nick Folk, and, they don't have to kick any field goals longer than 35 to 40 yards because I really think that it's a crapshoot. Really, after that, and even inside of 35 yards, I'm not confident in the kicking game. But if you've been here for long on the channel, you know that we've all watched this kicking situation just deteriorate over the last real 2 or 3 months. With these specialists all said and done, with the kicking and punting all said and done, that is going to do it for the defensive and the special team side of the 53-man roster. And that is going to wrap up what I think of the entire 53-man roster. Now, if you want to go back between the last video and this video, you could see both full screens of who I think is going to be the guys that represent the New England Patriots in 2020. This is going to be an interesting team. I've said it 100 times before. It's going to be different. It's definitely going to be different. I think the early part of the season with a tough schedule, it could be very, very, very rocky. And I think it's going to take them a few weeks to maybe a month or so to get their footing and find out what kind of team they really are. I'm intrigued how they're going to bring a constant pass rush, especially when you're playing quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Pat Mahomes. You're going to have to generate a constant pass rush to disrupt these guys. So I'm very curious to see how they do that. I'm not confident they have anything schematically that can get to the quarterback, at every down, especially losing so many sackers in free agency. Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, Landon Roberts got in there a time or two. So it's going to be intriguing to see how they bring pressure. The secondary, I realistically expect to be better, if the same, if not better than last year. I think Duggar has the big question mark was the transition, and it seems like he's been able to adjust to NFL speed very, very well, at least at the training camp portion. He might take him a couple weeks to really get acclimated, but I'm very confident in his athletic ability. And, with Gilly and J.C. Jackson there, it's probably one of the most elite duos in the NFL. So I think at the back end, they'll be okay. So that is your 53-man roster for the New England Patriots. Now, on this side of the roster, the defense, the special team side, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I leave somebody out? Is there somebody you think that has earned a spot on this 2020 team? Leave it down in the comments below. Let me know. I'd love to chop it up with you. Not only in the comments here on YouTube, but on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, at the Tyler Brandt. On Instagram, at Talking Pats. We could chop it up again about anything New England. The regular season is getting closer and closer every single day. I can't wait. Subscribe now if you haven't already, because the content is going to get really fun now that we're getting close to on-the-field action. So please subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you that has subscribed to this point. We grow every day. This family's getting bigger every day, and I appreciate all your contributions to that. So once again, I'm Tyler Brandt. Be safe, be good, and I'll catch you on the next video.